Welcome back to 50s AF Podcast, your hostess, Nicole Chanis. We are going to be mixing it up a little bit today. Yes, we are. This is going to be a very informative podcast. And I'm also going to say for you guys, tune in, watch, because you're going to learn, whether you're a woman or a man, a thing or two. And what you're going to do is get better and more successful dating experiences, specifically our 50s AF audience and women dating in their audience. So what is it that I have going on today? Well, we have a very special guest. Please allow me to introduce Rose Lambert, owner and very accomplished matchmaker of luxury matchmaking services from Southern Florida is where she's at, but she has international reach. And that's important and a difference. So, Rose, welcome.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm excited. It's just great to be here with you. I can't wait to, tell what we were talking about, share the things we were talking about. I think it's going to be a great
it is. It absolutely is. So, Rose, why don't you tell us the journey? Like, how did you wind up becoming a successful international matchmaker? Because there are a lot of matchmakers that don't go over international. So, what was your journey to becoming a matchmaker? And I know you're a coach as well.
Yes.
If you could tell our audience a little bit.
Sure. Well, I'm a first-generation immigrant. Obviously, from my accent, you guys could tell I came from Europe, and since 19 years old, I'm always self-employed. I manifest things into my life, and I'm always successful any business I do. And I did businesses from designing costumes and very successful. I was in the top 3, the dance costumes, like the Dance with the Star type.
Wow, really?
I started from scratch, and I owned a gas stations, believe it or not. It's like with the high heels.
Now, laundromats and gas stations.
It's moneymaker.
Moneymaker. And car washes.
Yes.
Self-car washes.
To me, there's no man or woman separation. It's like girls could do any job. But there was like time periods, like I start realizing in my long first marriage, I wasn't happy. I was married to a narcissist. And then after I got divorced, I got remarried in 14 months to my chiropractor.
Remember that, audience, because I'm going to be asking questions.
And then that marriage lasted 12 years, but I was very successful at the early age, so I was lucky enough to retire at 41. And I said, I'm just going to explore makes the good relationship. So I spent time learning religions, cultures, psychology, and effects on relationships. And I come from a different culture too. So again, United States also blending pot for all cultures. We have, so many nations is combined here.
Yeah.
So, and I went study with other coaches, and then I had a spiritual awakening actually too. And that's combined. It's like spent like 10 years learning about relationship.
Wow. So what we're hearing is Rose walked that road before becoming who she is.
Because it's a relationship. Like, to me, it was like the making money, doing any business, the man business, everything. Business was so easy. Yeah. It's like so easy to accomplish. I like to win, but how come I cannot receive the same kind of success in the relationship?
Okay. Well, let's dive into that, now that you've shared a little bit about your own personal experiences. And what I want you to do is the Rose today right now. Okay, let's talk about a few subjects that I think could help.
Like, can I just say, it's like, have that transition to the matchmaking?
Of course.
Okay. It's like, so when I had my spiritual awakening, that's a very tough process. And I said, you know what, I need to teach this to people so they would not go through the same difficulties I went through when I was doing the spiritual awakening. But what happened when I was coming across with the people, when they were having difficulties, it was the loneliness. And I'm like, I need to find you somebody because, we're working out. There's like, no. They don't even realize they need somebody. Mm-hmm. But I made so many matches and then their recommendations. And that the point came, it's like 70% of my clients was hiring me for matchmaking, but my website, my business card was saying still spiritual life coach. So then I made the transition. Then I find a school because whenever I do something, I'm a perfectionist. I have to do it perfect. And then I just got the certification from the Global Love Academy, become a certified matchmaker. And then I went international, met other matchmakers. We are a group of like almost like over 1,000 matchmakers. That's my connection. And that's how.
Wow. Yeah. So well accomplished and driven. I love driven women. We know we talk about our alpha females. So let's talk about a few subjects that I think you most certainly from your personal experience and professional had. I'm going to start off with one. What do you see as the primary mistakes that people in their 50s are doing in dating? And as a matchmaker, how do you advise women to shift their thinking or perhaps expectations, which, you know, we discussed a little bit, to help them have a higher success rate in dating?
First thing, they have to start recognizing, knowing themselves. Most of the time, my problem is, for example, I give this example, and a lot of realtors out there, and they do as a side job. Sometimes their main job is realtor. If you appraise a property high or low, it's not good, right? You have to know who you are, what you're looking for, and you have to know what to go after. So starting with your own, like appraising your value. Sometimes they're appraising it too high and they can get, like they go for a 10 when they're actually 7. Or sometimes they're appraising too low, they're getting used. So just actually knowing who you are, what you really, truly you could get out there. And also you have to know your competition. Ladies after 50, they're coming out, they're expecting the same kind of luck when they were younger. Now you're competing with the younger woman came now dating these men in his 50s.
Right. And we talk about that a lot on the podcast because, obviously there's a crossover in subjects. And, there are a lot of women when they're dating in their 50s, they're coming from divorce or mourning, and what I also call an additional mourning, which is if you're in a long-term relationship in your 50s and all of a sudden you're like, I'm 55, I'm 56 now, I gave up, now I got to date that much older. But, a lot of these women are just so deflated. And, so not everyone, I like to say you need to fall in love with yourself first before you can find love.
And don't spend too much. Sometimes they say, it's like, okay, you take a break, wait, and find yourself before you go out there. But you have to have it like, if you go too long, then you get used to being alone. It gets much difficult to get into a relationship because you might start loving being alone, and then it makes it so much harder. Then you have to work again to start getting along with somebody, being under the same roof.
No, definitely, and I talk about that on the podcast that was released this week. I say that up until a few weeks ago, I was worried because I was getting really comfortable because I'm my best version of myself right now and happy. And I was like, what's wrong with me that I potentially didn't want somebody, but everything worked out. I kind of like opened up that heart. So this is funny because you led right into the next question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Will you take a client straight out of a long-term relationship, or do you see potential red flags and rebounds? And, no matter how good a match you see for that person, do you give advice to navigate like a pause time? Or do you navigate, let's work on yourself and, let's see, like, or do you look at it and go, this person is healed, moved on, and healthy? Like, you led right into that next question.
Sometimes the questions, that's why I have that long consultation before I take a client. Sometimes the marriages ended long time. They've been lonely in that under living under same roof. Yeah. That person already completed. Like they could just start right away because they stopped having sex years ago. She hasn't been touched. She's been lonely, and she was just legally married and waiting until the divorce to be filed. And that person really already kind of there, and they don't have to waste so much time. And we're older too. It's like we don't have too many time to waste. So just get out there. But if you still have feelings and you maybe last time you slept with them 6 months ago, I will still say take some time. I say it's like when you were last time you were intimate. If it's a year, that's it. You could just go out But if, the top is year, don't wait more than a year.
So you use the decision maker about intimacy as deciding whether they're ready?
When we're intimate with somebody, it's our energy mixes too. That's because I'm coming from spirituality, remember? Mm-hmm. And that takes from woman to get out of from our body, it's at least 6 months and more. Yes.
Really?
It's just you combine your energy together, and when you stop having sex with somebody, it takes at least 6 months. And that's why I say that for females, protect yourself, protect your energy, and unless you're really sure, because that, for example, he might be the unlucky person. He might maybe his karma is not good, but you're the lucky woman. And when your energy mix up, your vibration changes, and that's why the the nuns and priests they don't have sex because they keep their energy pure. Our energy combines, so that's why you have to purify your energy first.
I love that perspective. I love it because I find in talking to women, they just want to get back out there, or they're deflated and depressed and they just want to be in bed. So that's why I was wondering, if a client is presented, I was curious about that. Okay, the next one I want to ask about is, I like this one. Many women, such as I, feel as though men, for the most part, have gotten lazy. And I talk about this a lot, audience, and I know, I'm old-fashioned, I can't help it. But, I feel like the art of dating is gone. And courtship, I feel like men have forgotten courtship, or the women don't expect courtship anymore. So, to me, a man that's setting up the date, conveying an interest, these are the features and characteristics I would like to see more men doing. And my question to you is, how do you advise your clients? And this is a man and a woman. Are there a lot of men that you find that have lost the art of courtship? And have you found a lot of women are just they've just lowered the bar of expectations with men, especially by the time they come to you, perhaps, and they have not been successful using dating apps or whatever opportunities there are, which bar scene, which I think is no, that's not an opportunity. No. But the other thing is, I always talk about, I love getting flowers. And you know what I hate getting?
What?
Roses.
Why?
There's no thought behind it.
Right.
So to me, I'd rather have a guy go to a flower store, not at the supermarket, and get me a bird of paradise or an orchid wrapped pretty. It's probably less money, but it showed you took the time to go to a store, pick out a single beautiful flower. And the message to me, that's so much more meaningful. Although I will say now they've come out with all these cool things with roses that they can design, put your name in. Right. I like that idea. But what I want to know is, what do you see is happening out there, especially for women in their 50s or dating 50, 60-year-old men? 60-year-old men remember how to court. They do. They did it back in the time. And women, I feel like, fight it or make excuses why it's not necessary. And then there are some that are like, yeah, where is it? So elaborate on your experience on that.
The men are confused because dating apps, they dating variety of women. Some ladies, they don't like their door to be open. I do. And some.
What do you mean by door open?
For example, the opening a car door. Some ladies is I open my car door, and sometimes the lady's she says why he's following me to my car? He's walking her to her car. Yeah. And so men are experiencing these and getting confusing signals from ladies. So that's why when you are you like somebody, Men likes to learn, and tell them,
Wait.
this is how I want to be treated. Actually, you have to tell them, because they date other women, and they, for example, he opens the door. It's like, why? I cannot open my door. This has happened to my clients.
They get offended if a man opens the door.
Yes, I am a powerful woman, and I could walk to my car. You don't need to. It's like, are you checking my car out? Why are you walking to my car?
Oh my goodness.
You know, that's just, the men are confused and lost.
Yeah, I did a bedroom confessional, and I took a chance, and I give grace and appreciation to the women that came before me, that allowed me to rise in the corporate, environment and be here today doing something like this. So absolutely respect to our past. But I think men are so confused now because of what you're talking about. They don't know, am I going to assault her? Even if I put my hand on her shoulder, or if I offer to send an Uber. Like, I'm all about a man taking the lead and showing. And then these women sometimes are like, no, I don't want XYZ. And I'm like, well, and so men are, and I actually got a lot of, men responding to that, because basically at the end of the day, they're like, I don't even know what to offer anymore. I barely can even offer to pay the bill. And then there are the other women that are like, expect it. But the majority of women, I feel like, are like, no, I don't want him going to my car. No.
And then also some of them coming back to dating, they haven't dated for a long time. Maybe his wife didn't, or relationship he was in it didn't require, and maybe that woman, and then they just got lazy and they forgot about those things. We're talking about the man who's older and haven't done this for a long time, or sometimes they've been out there and they dated. So that's why the communication, when you start first, like for example, before you set up the date, when the phone conversation, I prefer having a FaceTime. So you could.
So you do. That's me. I prescribe. I call it pre-dating.
Yes. And tell the truth, men. Actually, you have to teach men who you are and what you expect. And if he's comfortable with that, he will ask you out, and he will try to be that person if he likes you.
Okay. Can I ask a question though? Because a lot of women feel like first date, dip in, dip out, like meaning they don't want too much information. And I see a lot of men like that too. So they'd be like, the answer that I think they may say to that, and that's why I'm really curious, because you're in line with me on that, is that they say, no, that's too much work. I just want to like grab coffee and see if I'm interested. And it's amazing how many people like don't want to do what I call pre-dating, because pre-dating, in my eyes, on the pictures, especially on Facebook, when you tap on a picture, it shows the year that the person took the picture, 2012. I'm sorry, you're not the same person. Right. So I like a FaceTime to know for sure this is a person that I feel some kind of connection with, and they're being authentic and truthful.
Right.
You agree?
And then he gets to see you, and from the vibration energy, you will have a little bit of idea you would have a chemistry with that person or not too. I do recommend FaceTime or whatever the way it's WhatsApp, Zoom, whatever. It's just seeing each other instead of just trying to go out date. Like, it just time saves too. Yeah, saves from time.
Agree. And I can't even tell you, I get so much shit for saying this.
Why?
I don't know. And it's the dating in the 50s and men in their 60s. And the other thing you get a lot of, so I'm curious what you say. Most people say men in their 60s are who they are and they're not changing. And I don't like the word training. That is a word I don't like. I call it bendable. And everybody needs to be bendable in a relationship. But a lot of women are like, no, he's set in his ways. He can maybe put up a front for a month, but at the end of the day, if you're in your 60s, you're not changing.
This is what I do on that situation. Open communication, and you tell a person, these are my expectations from you, from the person I am dating, and that's going to be you. I like you. But what's your expectations from me? And if you do that for me, I will do this for you. So it's just both giving and take. It's just the working together for something better in the future. Because we all have something could annoy the next person.
Yeah. Well, of course. We're not perfect.
Right.
And that's where the bendable part comes in. And I actually have this theory of a non-variable list and a variable list. And I keep saying I'm going to talk about it on a podcast, and I don't. But a non-variable for me is the things that are non-negotiable. I must have in a relationship, and I'm going to stay on that guidance. That is my North Star, and I will not deviate. I normally say that. And then the variable list is, we like the same music, maybe they play tennis. That's the, like, check, okay, good. But the non-variable list is, like, for example, must have adult children, must have good morals, values, whatever it may be.
Those are important. Yes.
Okay. And you know what, though? The woman sitting in this seat, like literally a few weeks ago, I finally did what I talk about, which is if you're on this hamster wheel and no success for years, which wasn't for me, that case. I'm just saying, no success, no changing it. How are you going to yield a different result if you don't look at yourself? Don't always blame other men. You have to look at yourself and go, so Rose, I took my own advice and I went outside my wheelhouse and met a nice person. And so, I think women really, and men, I've had men do this exercise, sit down and do a non-variable list and a variable list. And it takes them time because no one's ever said to them, what is really important to you? And they actually don't give thought. A lot of men are criticized for just swiping based on looks. They don't read the profile. So, I do believe, but I will say a lot of people, when I talk about this, they're like, that's too much work. I'm not FaceTiming before a date, which I don't understand. So when your clients, they're not a blind setup, is what you're saying. How does that process work for you?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Blind.
So by what you're saying is your clients are seeing each other before going on a date, or they don't know anything about each other?
If I'm doing the matchmaking, sometime, because I work with, sometime, some of my clients are high profile, and I set up actually a blind date. Until the person arrived, they don't know who it is. And I do that too.
Wait. Can you walk that back a little bit?
I am a matchmaker to sometimes my clients are high profile.
Yeah.
And I don't show a picture. I don't tell them who or he or she is for some privacy reasons. And then that person only finds out when they come out to date. But those are with the high profile. If it's not a high profile, I do show pictures. And as a matchmaking part, I do like that way because I am in the middle. But if also I do coaching, I have just street coaching clients. Right. I don't do the matching. So those are, I say, you have to see it, save your time, do the FaceTime, video chat or something before you go out to date. But then the matchmaking, I do set up dates. Sometimes they don't talk to each other.
That's so funny because I'm going to get to a question about that. It's so funny. I love that because there's a question I'm going to get to just about that. For your alpha female clients.
Okay.
Alpha female.
Too.
Okay. All right. So men may be attracted to everything and look up and respect an alpha female. Why? Because we have high confidence.
Right.
There's a difference between being cocky and confidence. I'm talking about confidence here. We're accomplished. And women in our 50s that are single, I'm sorry, guys, I keep saying this all the time, but, you men that are in your 50s and 60s and think you can get a 30, 40-year-old, yeah, you can. I'm not saying anything bad, and there's some good ones. But a 50-year-old woman that is...
It's like a fine wine.
It is like a fine wine. We know what we're doing. We know how to navigate. We have our stuff together, so... How, because typically we're educated, we're smart, we're driven, and they're attracted to that, right?
Right.
Okay, but how do we bridge this understanding, men who are attracted to an alpha female, but when it comes to dating and in the bedroom, we want to be feminine. We want you to you make all the decisions. You treat us like a man, we don't want to be the boss there. And, do you see that often as a matchmaker with alpha females? Like you have to like coach a little bit, but also the males that are attracted to make them understand, okay, she is this, but, honestly, when it comes to her personal life, she wants to turn it off. She wants to be that godness kind of person and like be embraced by you and just melt. How do you convey both sides on this?
First thing, let me say, yes, alpha females are attractive. They're successful. Some men are attractive. And also there's some men straight, they come to me, they say, please do not fix me with the alpha females.
Well, does that mean they want to control the woman?
They say it's just too much of conflict.
Really?
Too much conflict. Actually, it's just like I don't, like, what you call that's like the,
two bowls.
Yeah, it's just like it's just too much, and some men they just don't want that, and they just want somebody not controlling, but it's like more accepting to men to lead and taking control. Like men taking control. Yeah. Because even I'm an alpha female too. It's like some of the things I did, and so much as I try to be more, kind of giving him the lead. Sometimes I can't help it.
There's a fly around me, so I'm like going all over the place. Yeah. So I apologize.
We can't help it. Sometimes we don't even know we are in the alpha. Like keeping that energy in the more feminine instead of masculine. It takes work, and I had to work on that a lot. And sometimes I have to just like. Realize I am doing it again, alpha back, and I have to put her back into her.
What do you mean? Because I'm alpha, and in the dating world, I do not portray that. I mean, men already will know about me, but I'm very much on the way I like to set up my dates. And for me, unlike other people that want to just have lunch, coffee, or a drink, I've done the pre-dating, which is what you talked about, and I want to look my best. I want to be sexy, and I want to be just let the man do everything. So I'm alpha, but when it comes to dating, you'll see that soft side to me. So you're saying men sometimes automatically just feel a woman can't turn that off?
What happens? Okay, let me give you then from my some example. Maybe that's the best way to explain it. My boyfriend is alpha. I'm alpha too. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I pretend like I pretend like I'm dumb because he knows I'm smart. Because if I feel like because we have ego too, okay? Mm-hmm. Letting him have a control of something, sometimes it's hard because my way of doing it a little bit different, and I'm letting him do it. But as a respect, I should let him because he makes great plans. Everything he does, I like it. He buys tickets for the shows and he picks out nice restaurants. But sometimes something he does, it's like I have to bite my tongue. And it just, you know what I mean? I just like, without asking me, for example, he invite somebody else, and I'm just like being alpha. I want to control things.
Oh my gosh, so much.
I am a leader, and it just bugs me. Like, how come he didn't ask me? But I'm like, Rose, just bite your tongue. Right. Pretend, okay, honey, you did a good job. Yeah. But next time, please, would you ask me? We will talk about this.
So it's the art of communication on that.
Yes, I'm like, I appreciate it if we talk next time. And, it's like if he tries to do something nice, but I'm like, okay, this is good, but let's, it's just being alpha. We are leaders and, just one life and two leader.
You know what? I will say, like, sorry, my headset's giving me issues. Just flies and headset issues today. I don't know what's going on. So I know that sometimes if I leave it in the hands of a guy to do what you're talking about, like in a long-term relationship, they can't freaking plan a trip correctly. Like they just can't. And I want to just say very kindly, I have more time, and which I don't, but I'll say I have more time. Would you like me to take over the rest of the plans? Because we are detailed oriented. So when a man is making the plans, he's not, thinking about all the details that I want to know, even for a date. I have this thing I do when I'm dating somebody and you want to surprise me what the date is. So here's my rule. I always want to be dressed appropriately because I one time was told by somebody how to dress. And it goes, we're making a pit stop. And it was a very, very high end group of people that I knew, very conservative. I'm wearing like this see-through blouse with like 2 buttons and a black bra. There was nothing I could do, no matter how many buttons walking in there. I'm like looking at the wonderful 80-year-old woman like, I'm so sorry. So here's my deal. I just want to know, I break it into these categories. Am I dressed in like Lululemon? Am I dressed in jeans and a casual shirt? Am I dressed in jeans and a sexy shirt, cocktail or gala? Just tell me, because I personally, I get really uncomfortable if I'm not dressed appropriately for something. You too?
Yes, me too. For example, with that leading things, like these are really small things. I'll give you an example from the vacation we had last year. We went to Europe. We were in France. I'm more technical one. My boyfriend is not. I'm more like a tech savvy person. Anyway, that's nothing to do. It's like when we're trying to find somewhere and I take out my phone and the navigation, we're looking. I'm holding to him, that's I'm leading.
Okay.
And I didn't notice. It's like, and then I realized in his face, it's like, because he's a leader, it's like, okay, I'm following you. But his tone changed.
Yes.
It's like after it's second date.
Yeah.
And I was, okay, take it. And it is a little things. Just little things. It makes a difference. He felt like I was leading, and he wanted to be man. He wants to hold the phone. These are really childish little things.
No, it is. But you know what? That's the things that you have to be bendable on and accept both ways.
Right. I mean, it's not like, like woman thinks like, oh, you have to surrender, obey. There's no such a thing like that. It's just little tiny things. It just makes he feels leading.
Like a man.
Man, yes.
As a woman in our feminine power, men do want to feel like, sometimes they have control. And it's like sometimes you do have to kind of just let go and be like, okay, that was wonderful, bravo. And you're like, oh my gosh, he really screwed that up. So when you get a client that, especially, international or wherever that's affluent, and you see that he is very frugal from like, how do you handle that you can't be as frugal when you're dating, not every woman, like they're just frugal. Maybe that's the way that they are driven and they came from nothing. And so they have a different perspective on their success. And a lot of men, I find that self-made came from nothing, kind of go one way or the other. They're very frugal or they just spend. Yes. So how do you advise for women in their 50s, men in their 60s, like that have the means to not be so frugal on a date? Does that ever come up? Oh my gosh, more times than you.
I think the frugalness is not just a choice they make, it's just they can help it. It's just kind of illness. That comes to a point, it's just basically they don't have any control over it. Mm-hmm. They do that mindlessly. Mm-hmm. And when I talk to them, like, for example, they spend so much money on something, but it comes to, bottle of water purchasing at the airport, and they want to just fill it from the bathroom sink. Right.
But isn't it funny, the things that...
But the hotel, they're paying like $1,000 a night. It's like, I mean, they're just like two insane things. Yeah. And it's just the way, like you said, how they brought up. It's just talking to them. Look, I say, it's like, look, how old are you? What's your net worth? That's like, it's like you have enough money. And this doesn't make sense. Right. And if you're like dating somebody, if you're comfortable enough to come to that point, you could say, it's like, hey, you're doing it again. It's not worth it. And I just don't like this. And also you could just say, it's like, this is my lifestyle. Are we aligned? And aligning on these.
Yeah.
It's all
a big thing for me, aligning. Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll be like, if something doesn't make sense, but these men are like come across like sometimes so cheap. I tell ladies, like, Okay,
You prepare them.
I deal with like these very wealthy men, but how they brought up, they do little cheap habits.
Yes.
But when they get married and when they're in relationship, they buy like this luxurious homes, luxurious vacations, and they give everything. I say, just be patient. Work with me because he's not actually cheap. He cannot help it.
So you put it upon the woman to accept it, not change the man.
No, I teach women to have to communicate, deal with that situation, and we work together. I work with her, him, and it's like we all, like when I match somebody, I stay with them, like from matching, it takes like 3 months to finding somebody. Sometimes it could take up to 3 months. And then the relationship, building the relationship. And then even I'm just like there when they're doing their prenups, I stay like a 1 year with them so they could just communicate clearly. And so it will be a solid foundation.
I like that.
Yeah.
So in keeping in mind the amount of time we have, and this is what always happens, because you deal with international clients, I'm curious. I've heard from one friend on this. Do you find dating in the United States is dramatically different than dating, say, in Europe? Meaning a man in Europe, from what I hear, has a much better approach to dating, and they're not lazy. They're very romantic. And American men, they just don't get it. Like, is that what you find? I'm curious. What is it like dealing, like with a client in Europe versus, somebody that has the means in American? Like, is there a different approach?
They do take care of themselves, and that's like if you just go into Europe, sit at the cafe and watch the people walking by, they're naturally taking care of themselves. And also like in the Europe too, there's a just mix of cultures too. It's like so many European countries. The upbringing. Some cultures are different. For example, now it's like here and some European countries, just like splitting the paying for the date. It's like split.
They do that?
No, not everybody. But some cultures, if your woman reaches out to their purse, it's insult to a man.
Yes.
Where you come from, people carry like where they were born and where they were raised. And yes, cultures makes so much difference where you live and what you see. It's just a little bit more. They do it more elegantly. They put more time into it.
That's what I heard.
Yes. And because and then also though it's like I was at the Matchmakers convention last year in London. There's a TV show over there that doesn't air in United States, like some kind of matchmaking show. And they were talking about like it's over there. The relationships, like how the online dating affects, how people replacing each other easily. Those problems are worldwide start happening because since with the internet, a lot of things change. And but over there, you see maybe people are more. Like physically, they looking at like we were more casual in America.
Oh yes,
it's like we were so much more casual. But over there, maybe it's like, but the dating is dating, hard is hard, and then like your culture is like, for example, somebody whose background is from India, they have and then somebody who's like Orthodox Jews, so much different. I see it's like younger people in some cultures. Still like they looking to get married, but versus the American single ones, they don't rush in to get married. They wait and they froze their eggs and they wait for until later on. I think it's just the culture makes so much difference.
Okay. So, wow, we're almost done.
Wow.
So I told you it would go fast.
Oh my God, it's so fast.
I know. So I want to know something. I was thinking about this.
What?
You know how people get nervous on a first date? I don't care how good looking you are or whatever. Like I do a shot of tequila before I go on a first date just to give myself a little chill down. And I hear this from everybody. If they don't feel the chemistry immediately on the first date, they're done.
No.
Do you sometimes see in your matchmaking, like, listen, first date, there's jitters. You're not acting. I don't think people take this into account. Their first date, the man or the woman can have the jitters and not present their best self because they're nervous. And so, like, almost everybody I talk to, if it's not on the first date, they're not going on a second.
No, that's wrong.
So please walk us down that in a 2-minute answer.
Okay. Just like you explained it, I don't have to repeat it, something similar to that. And the first date is just you just meet a person, have fun, and basically introduce each other without overdoing it. And do not concentrate on, it's like, do I have the chemistry or not? If if you like what he does, the lifestyle you try to learn, leave the chemistry for a second, third, fourth date because it just comes. More you get to know the person starts looking better and better.
Under the hood is what I call it.
Yeah, and just the way a person looks. But other things are, you liking, like you like. The most important thing is the first date. You try to learn, forget about his past. Try to learn about what his future plans are, what he wants to do. Is it aligning with your future plan? It's like, do you like what he wants to do in future so you could do it together? And you're looking for a partner for your future. So it's like you're going to partner up with that person. It's like, are you guys going to go for the same goal? And then if it is, and then the finances are matching, looks good, but you don't have the chemistry, that could come later.
I got to tell you, Rose, everybody says if I'm not feeling it on that first date, I am not going on a second. They are so strong about that. They're like, if he has crooked yellow teeth and if I have the cringe factor on a first date, why would I go on a second? And I think that's why I'm asking you that question, because as a matchmaker, you see something that they don't perhaps. And I just was like getting ready and I was like, Rose would be really good at answering this about, because people do not want to go past the first date if they don't feel it.
If you're having fun with somebody, if that person makes you feel special, loved, protect, those are the things you should looking for. And little things could be fixable. If he has a yellow teeth, there's a dentist. You could get laminated or whatever.
Do you know how many affluent people here in Boca men have yellow stained, disgusting teeth?
It's the age. It happens. The teeth
I know, but
age
take care
too.
of your teeth. Yeah. I mean, you can afford it.
But if it's men's, like if it doesn't have somebody, sometimes people don't notice. But if everything else is good, it's just something little. You could change. You could update a clothes. You could update like teeth, like little physical things. Yeah. Even if it's a bald, you could get a hair. It's like those things.
Bald is hot. I'm sorry, being bald is hot. I just don't do the toupee
my boyfriend is bald too.
Yeah,
but you could just the implants. They're doing the hair implants too. Some of the fixable things, don't dwell on those things. Just look for the things you enjoying together. Like the most important things, like when you play together, you stay together. When you're playing together, are you having fun? Do you miss that person? Like when you leave. And then you're on your own and you want to be with them again because you had so much good time with that person. You just focus on that. Don't focus on things fixable.
Okay. I like that advice. And men listening to that advice, hear that and put your A game out there on the first date. Don't be lazy, guys. Okay. So my last question as a matchmaker, how is it you can tell an audience that's in their 50s, a female, using a matchmaker service such as yourself? How are they assured they're going to get a better caliber person sitting across from them on that first date? Like, what is the magic that you feel as a matchmaker versus just doing on dating apps and doing that? And I know talking to you, sometimes you work with clients on the dating app, but, we all know matchmaking is not like $100 for a good one. And, so what advice, could you give to potential clients? Like what, in a shorter answer, what you can offer that they can't on their own?
When we are recruiting a match for a client, we are looking for realistically. And when the client looking themselves, they have their emotions, their egos, and something reminds them maybe their ex, and they just swiping with the just by looks.
Yeah.
And we look at the finances. We look at their goals are aligning. Because me being spiritual, I look at their stars and birth signs. We do the chart. So we just look so many different angles, and we just don't go by looks. And most of the people, it's like when you're swiping, you don't know anything about that person. You're just swiping with the looks.
I hate the men that swipe and don't read.
The woman does that too. It's just woman swiping also.
I'm looking at that profile, and I talk about this, that I have in bold letters. It would say, and I don't use dating apps much. I'm barely on. But it would say, do not send me an emoji or a wink. A real man can put a sentence together, or I won't respond. So what do I get? An emoji, a wink. So we talked about this on the podcast today. And this week's podcast that dropped, that everyone just looks at the pictures. They're not looking for the things they should be looking for.
Because it's the numbers games. There's too many men at the dating apps, less women, and they just send the likes to a lot of attractive women, and they talking to too many people.
Right.
They don't have that much time, or they just sometimes copy paste the same thing.
Right. So in a 1 minute, because we're at the end, just to refine a little bit more for our audience, if they were to come to you, what services do you offer that for sure can make that caliber of a person be better across from them? Is it working on themselves first? What is it as a matchmaker that you do to help elevate the opportunities for a woman to meet in their 50s dating a better criteria of men that are out there on the dating apps? If you could kind of just give a 1 minute, dead on answer about what you do.
What I do is I do matchmaking services. Of course, we recruit, and then because I can't take too many matchmaking clients, we do dating coaching. I like to teach women to have to be their own matchmaker, and that's less money, and then they have that for the rest of their life, and they could match themselves, they could match their friends and family, and I just teach them where to find it. Instead of going to bar, just go to Publix, actually. Just bump into some handsome, good-looking guy, and it's just much better chances. And I just teach them, I tell them, just love yourself, and also give chance to somebody else, someone. It's just be fair. And before you do anything, it's and then always put yourself in that person's situation too. It's always you just think about, if I was him, why he did this and where he's coming from.
Right.
Sometimes people do things because it's just what happened in their past. And like I said, we were talking about the man not treating the woman with the kindness. It's all traditional gentlemen are not in, because the times change, and the men got hurt too.
Yeah.
And so you need to learn a person first. So just take time to learn. If you like his looks, if the things are your must-haves are there, just give time, work on somebody. And because do you ever receive anything valuable doing without nothing? You have to put work into it, right?
Right.
So relationship, love is most precious thing in the world. Yeah. So you need to put some work in it. You can't get something that precious without putting any effort.
I agree. And Rose, unfortunately, we have to close out. I told you to go by fast, didn't I?
It is. Oh, my God. It's so fast.
I know. So Rose, what I like about Rose as a matchmaker, her advice, her coaching, she is not in it to just money, and sell you something that she can't deliver. And I like Rose's approach about that. And I appreciate you coming on here and talking about it. And, hopefully, by discussing some of the things that women dating in their 50s can change up a little bit, or think differently about, or turn to you for advice. And spirituality is definitely a guiding light. I do believe that, the words you speak are what, is the outcome of your life. And as I say, with any one of my guests, under the podcast guest resources, you will find all the links to Rose. I highly, highly encourage people to look at and touch base with Rose. And again, she's international, so it doesn't matter if you're Florida, wherever. And I would like to thank you so very much for coming here and sharing your what you do and your perspective, because I think it's something that women needed to hear, and men. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much. And also I have this new cruise coming up in Celebrity Epics, and I'll be teaching, sharing all of my secrets, and we have limited space, and if somebody interested, they could just look up Rose Lambert Matchmaker. I'm on the Google.
No, it'll be on my website.
Oh, you're on website too. So, yeah.
No,
it's like,
you're going to send me all the links, and people will sign up for that. All right. Thank you so very much.
Thank
Nicole
you.
Chanis, 50s AF, and we're out. Thank you.